Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Brec Bassinger about a Stargirl, which we watch on the CW. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thanks, Petey. The pleasure is all mine.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, you know what one of my favorite things about storytelling is, Brec, lately, to be honest with you? I'm going to tell you right now.
Tell me.
Genre bending.
Genre bending. Okay,
Yes.
keep going.
And I feel like when, Stargirl first came to us and we saw the trailer, we saw the first couple of episodes, I feel like that's what was happening, to be honest with you. It was a kind of a show in the superhero culture and everything, but you laughed, you cried, you got a little freaked out. I was just curious, did you notice that there was a lot of kind of genres happening, even though it was kind of DC Universe, comic book culture, but there's a lot more to Stargirl. I'm just curious about that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think Jeff Johns, our creator, showrunner, he was very forward about that, as he wanted our show to be more than just a superhero show.
Yep.
But the heart and humor was just as important as the heroics to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember seeing an interview that the cast did. I mean, it's 2 seasons now, and it's pretty crazy because this show came out and everyone watched it right smack in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Stargirl. So does it blow your mind a couple years later that Stargirl is one of those pandemic shows? There weren't many of them, but there's 15 of them on the top of your head. That's pretty crazy to look back, right?
No, it's weird. Just the whole time that the show's premiered has not been what I've expected because of the pandemic. I got to go to my very first convention 3 weeks ago, and in my head, when I got casted as Stargirl, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be going to all these Comic-Cons and blah 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 blah. No, not the case. But it's been cool to finally get to meet people that watched it back in the pandemic and are, we're starting to be able to get out and about more. So
I think it was one of those things too where, so it came out on originally season 1 was on DC Universe and then it was on CW, but it came out week to week, right? There was a lot of shows that were you could just binge and everything. I feel like that was also the one show that everyone was looking forward to watching week after week.
I mean, I love that perspective. Absolutely. I'll go with that.
I feel like there's a place for both of them though, Brec. The binging and the waiting week by week. I like them both. What do you think from a consumer point of view?
Ooh, I'm kind of like you. I do both. I love a good binge watch. I'm a huge reality television girl. Mm-hmm. So I've got my Selling Sunset that I watch in a day. And then I have my Bachelorette that I follow weekly. So I kind of do both.
It's so crazy that you mentioned that because we've interviewed a lot of reality TV stars on the show. And I always ask, it's either 50-50. I asked them, the staple question I always ask Brec is, what, did you know about reality TV before signing on to the reality show? And it's literally either I knew nothing, or I was a huge fan.
Yeah.
I thought that's so funny. There's no in between. You know what I mean? It's so weird. It's not I never got I watched a few episodes of The Bachelor here and there. But there's people that are honestly, I had no idea about
Black
reality
or white,
TV.
no gray area.
And then it's oh yeah, I'm a huge Big Brother fan. I watch it all the time. So I found that really, really funny. But yeah, no, it's so crazy. There's so much things out there. Brec Bassinger is a storyteller. That's what you do, basically. That's literally the profession. What excites you about being a storyteller specifically, Brec?
I think for me is it's the escapism of it. Mm-hmm. When I watch a show, whether it's a mindless reality TV show that I don't have to pay that much attention to, or it's something like a Peaky Blinders where you have to listen to every word they say and you're hanging on. I feel you just escape from reality for a little bit. So I think it's really cool as an actor to get to do that on set, but then also as a viewer, giving the people the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely. I also feel it's really interesting where they're making, I feel there's people are like what you just said about the escapism, but like the focusing or just kind of like coming home from work, grabbing a slice of pizza, just putting it on the background. I feel like showrunners are having those like discussions when they're in like the writers' rooms. Like, you know what? Are we gonna make these episodes like just they can just watch it like at night after a tough day, or like exactly.
That's you being kind. They take their jobs way too seriously. They're hanging on to every word, even if it's like a freaking episode of Bling Empire, every single word.
Absolutely. Bling Empire. Have you
I
watched
love that show. I just finished it. Love it. Honestly, the showrunner would have been happy with me because I was like I like turned my phone off because I'm like, I have to focus.
For season 1, we did interview Cherie and Jesse.
Shut up. I'm going to have to go find that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just put Cherie Chan and Popternative and you'll find it. But yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. I want to know this. I mean, I know we're going back a little bit. We're going from season 1 of Stargirl. I just want to know, and I've talked to your castmates about this, when you start seeing like the set and where you're working and everything and Stripe and a big robot, you're like, oh my God, like what, like, can you even like process what's going on around you? Like, what's that like when you see like the sets? Like the sets are incredible on that show.
Yeah. I'm a relatively emotional person. So a lot of it makes me very emotional. Like even this 3rd season, I've spent a total of 18 freaking months on that set, but still to the very last day of filming, I would walk into the pit stop and see the 16-foot robot with functioning headlights and functioning open cage, whatever. And it would just bring me to tears because it is so surreal. And I think as someone who's dreamed of doing this for a living since I was 4 or 5 years old, like getting to do it, I don't know if my brain has ever fully been able to wrap around it.
And the crew, I mean, I was telling you before, like I wrapped my short and just like we had a small crew, but it's like if we don't have that crew, there's no movie. You know what I mean?
No, I know. And you get so like for us, you know, we've been doing it for 3 years and a lot of our crew members are the same as season 1.
Yeah.
So they really do become a second family. And, you know, we're still waiting to hear about season 4, but I've done a lot of like reflection on those individuals and how I love them. Like they are genuinely so special to me and I'll invite them all to my wedding one day because that's how much I love those people.
That's so amazing to hear, Brec. Yeah, you mentioned, like, so season 3 and everything is in terms of, I guess if you ask like the writers and the showrunners, it's different, but I'm asking you, like the actor, the storyteller on the show, is the first thing that come to mind, like every time you get renewed for like a new season, is it like a combination of just kind of like more storylines coming in and a combination of making it better than season, like the previous season? Like what's the mindset for you specifically? Because I always get curious about that, because the point of when a show gets like renewed is you want to make that season better than the previous season.
Of course, you want the story to keep going, but just continue to elevate it.
Yeah.
I think from like an artist actor perspective, it's always like, how can I go into the season more prepared, more, this character have more levels, because at this, like say going into a 3rd season, you have 2 seasons now of knowledge of this character. So how can I use that to elevate this character 3rd season, make her more multidimensional? And like also from like a superhero perspective, for me, it was always super important to go in with my skills more elevated as well, just whether it was the bow staff or like me being super strong and ready to get in that super suit. Like that's something I really focused on as well.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's so exciting. Like the season 2 to season 3 kind of like anticipation is just crazy. The Stargirl fans too, because I know this because I did a lot of interviews, like they love the show. And I mean, like that's the point, you know what I mean? But like, what is there anything you want to say to the Stargirl fans that are from around the world? Like it's a global fan base. It's pretty crazy.
I know. Like I said, I just recently got to go to Europe for my first convention, and it was so surreal. Thank you. I know that might sound cliche, but like genuinely, thank you. I have the best time getting to be Stargirl, and so for them to like accept me with open arms into this community and giant DC universe. Like all I can say is thank you.
It's so amazing. 47 Meters Uncaged.
Yeah.
So technically, because the first one was with Claire Holt and Mandy Moore.
Yes.
And the second one is like, it's technically a sequel, right? Yes.
It was the same director. Yes.
It was the same director. Okay, interesting. You're like the third person from that movie that I've like interviewed as well. Like I've interviewed Brianne Chu.
Yeah, Chu, yeah.
And I've interviewed Davi Santos.
I love Davi.
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll make the world even smaller.
Yes.
I've known Brianne since I was 13 years old because her sister Haley was on Belle and the Bulldogs with me, and we were on that for 3 years.
I know,
together.
it's crazy. Yeah. It's so, yeah. That I was gonna ask about that. I was gonna ask about that because there was that like 47 Meters Cage, Bella Bulldogs connection a little bit because you work with her sister. You always think about that if it's just a coincidence or it's like, hey, like you should go in for that. Like, thanks for the heads up. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that was completely coincidental. Yeah. But it was really because we were filming, at least most of my part was filmed in the Dominican Republic. Mm-hmm. And it was so nice to go in there and know someone. Mm-hmm. But then I have to give a shout out to my girl, Sophie Nelise, who's on Yellow Jackets now.
Yellow Jackets, yep.
She is the coolest chick. She's one of my best friends to this day. And I met her on that film. And like getting to see her just thrive with her career has been so fun.
I'm going to be honest with you right now. And I'm ashamed of myself, like, because I'm a big horror movie fan. I didn't know it was the same director.
I'm almost positive. Yeah, Johannes.
Yeah, it was. Okay, yeah, it's Johannes. Well, I know he did the first one, so.
Yeah, well, he did the second one.
Well, so. I think the second. So he might. I'm curious what he'll think about. I think the second one is better than the first one. So I do know
this might be overspeaking, but I believe the second one had a bigger budget than the first one.
But the second one just had but just the concept of like I know your character. Your
didn't get to go underwater.
Your character was very mean, but like. The characters underwater, like that whole sequence with like was just insane and like turning and like a shark is here and then like oh man it was
I literally I read the script multiple times. I was in the freaking movie and when I was at the premiere and there's that really big jump scare with the shark, I screamed and I'm like, I'm in the freaking movie, I know that's about to happen and I still screamed.
And then in the end, like, so what was that like? Seeing Sophie do like how long were those takes then? That big kind of scene at the end where you're like on the boat and everything washing like because that was all Sophie and it's like
no, I know. So that was filmed in like multiple parts and like I guess that one scene was filmed in 3 different days, 3 different locations. Mm-hmm. One was so originally they thought they were going to use a practical glass boat submarine situation.
Yep.
But the way the girls like Sophie was having to do it, it just wasn't practical.
Okay.
So we ended up having to do pickup shots in London on a green screen. And then we also one day went out in like the middle of the ocean and filmed some of the top boat stuff. Fun fact, I don't know if I should say this, but the girls—
You gotta say it.
I know. They did reshoots and I wasn't available. So they got someone who looked like me and put the same clothes. So if you go back and watch and at the end of the movie, like when Sophie is doing her
that's whole not you.
There's like a girl standing on the boat in my outfit and it's supposed to be me. It's not me. I wasn't there that day.
So that's why you chuckled a little bit when I said about that scene basically, right? Just now?
That scene, like, it's such a fast scene when you're watching it, like no more than probably 2-3 minutes. But like it took so many days and places and people. Yeah.
I gotta go back and watch that now that you said.
Honestly, you just uncovered that memory. I had forgotten because I think I watched the movie just once. Mm-hmm. I don't love watching shark movies because I don't want to be scared of the ocean. So I watched it once and I was like, okay, that's enough. But,
yeah, absolutely.
You just unlocked that memory.
Obviously, a lot of people, like when you do a lot of interviews, a lot of people ask about like you're Courtney Whitmore on Stargirl and CW and everything, but is it really cool though? Like sometimes, like when other projects like get brought up a little bit as well. Like you obviously like it's pretty. Like, were you expecting like in-depth 47 Meters Uncaged discussions now?
Absolutely not. Like I wasn't a huge. It's so funny because I think there's only like 7 actors in that whole film, but I'm in 3, maybe 4 scenes. Like, I'm not in a lot of the movie.
Well, you spark Sophie. You get her mad, and then she like
but because
everyone.
of like the movie, like it has this like, you know, I feel like all those kind of shark horror movies, they get this unique cult following. So like randomly people will bring it up, and I'm like, throwback, hello.
But I mean, and then speaking of throwbacks, I mean, Belle and the Bulldogs and Nickelodeon, I mean, that just must have been just kind of like, okay, this is a question I really want to ask then, because I've had a chance to ask a lot of people that have been on Nickelodeon, Disney Channel movies. So you're a kid, you're working on this show and everything, and you're going in. So is the mindset stepping stone, like you're on a Nickelodeon show and you know you're doing your work and then maybe it can lead to other things and you're kind of getting used to everything? Or is your mindset like, I'm working, like I'm on a Nickelodeon show and I'm working? Like, does the stepping stone aspect of it ever come to mind?
No, I don't think, for me personally, I don't think I thought of it as a stepping stone, because
you know what I mean though, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. But like for me, after the fact, looking back on it, I might have thought of it like that, because the amount of like experience it gave me was very stepping stone like. But during that time, like being 15 years old, not only that, I looked about 12, 13. I still look about 8 years younger than I am. But there's not like, that's kind of it. There's not a whole lot of like, so being an actor at that age with that look, that's kind of what the work was for me. So to me, it was like, yay, I booked a job.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's what I want, because I've had people say the opposite. I've had people say like, yeah, I talked to my team and everything, and like eventually,
not at all. I think that's more of conversations I have now on like things. I'm like, will this be elevating? Will this be a stepping stone to something bigger? Because now I can play high school, I can play college. There's more options. Where at 15, my options were pretty slim. So work was work.
You were also in a few episodes of the TV adaptation of my favorite movie of all time,
School of Rock.
School of Rock.
Well, did you ever watch the kid show?
A little bit. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was very different.
I was old. Like it came out at the time where I like was completely over watching the Nickelodeon. Like,
of course, you weren't quite the demographic.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but I watched like the first episode because I'm a huge fan of the movie, so I wanted to see what it was like. I mean, it's a kid show on Nickelodeon.
It is a kid show. My character was so silly on it, but it was so fun. And it was interesting because at that time, I had led my own Nickelodeon show. And then it was like a direct offer. They brought me back in. They're like, we really love her. We want her to be a part of this. But I was kind of like walking onto set. I was the oldest by a few years at that point. I had done my own show. So I felt like kind of like the cool older sister vibe on that. So it was a really cool set experience.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying that School of Rock with Jack Black is like my favorite movie of all time.
Jack Black is iconic. He's so funny. That movie is iconic.
You know what? There's a meme that I always repost, and I'm probably going to repost it soon. It's the best meme, in my opinion, of all time, because it's about School of Rock. And I used to be, when I was younger, Brec, I was like a concert promoter and everything, and I used to be in bands, and PD Beats was like my stage name when I played in like metal bands.
Okay.
So the best part about that is there's a meme showing Jack Black playing like in the Battle of the Bands, and it says the real hero is the concert promoter that got all these people at a Battle of the Bands on a school day during the day.
Touche. I hadn't even thought of that. That is so funny.
Because it's like a Battle of the Bands and it's packed.
It's literally the middle of like a Wednesday.
I know. Oh my God, I love that movie so much. Yeah, no, it's so crazy. Brec, this was such a blast chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on Popternative.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Stargirl, they gotta look out because
Stargirl season 3 coming soon. Watch it.
It's coming soon, absolutely. Is it one of those like things where it's like every day you wake up and you're like, all right, it's season 3's coming soon, and you just kind of like play the waiting game? Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, I can't lie. I kind of forgot that we had filmed another season, because at this point we've been wrapped for almost 3 months, and so I was like, I had this epiphany like 2 days ago. I'm like, wait a second, there's a whole nother season that has to air. Holy crap.
I know, it's so crazy. No, it's so crazy. And people can follow you on Instagram, right? That's like,
yeah, that's mainly what I do.
You have Twitter too, but Instagram's probably the main.
Yeah, I try to get on Twitter like some because the people there are so fun. Like I love connecting with Twitter people because they're ruthless and I love it. But I don't do it a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Till next time, this is Brec Bassinger and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.